Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is Councillor Nigel Smith, and I am the Chair of the Economy in Place Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Can I welcome everybody here this evening to this evening's meeting, which is a hybrid meeting. The meeting will be live streamed and recorded and will be available for viewing after the meeting. Should the live stream fail, the meeting will continue to record and be available through the Council's website following the conclusion of the meeting. Can I remind members that the translation service or facility is available, and for those attending on Zoom to choose the language of your choice. For those wishing to speak in the chamber, please raise your hand to alert the chair and then turn on your microphone when prompted. For those on Zoom, please use the raise hand function. I will alternate between the speakers in the chamber and those on the Zoom facility. For those attending remotely, please note that those in the chamber will be unable to use the chat facility. If possible, Zoom attendees are required to leave their camera on at all times. The Chair's opening remarks, well, I don't have any, but let's make the most of our 5 years members. We have a lot of work to do, and the Economy and Place Overview and Scrutiny Committee is probably one of the busiest scrutiny committees this council has. So roll your sleeves up and let's make a good start. Moving on, we will start with the appointment of Vice Chair. Do we have any nominations for Vice Chair? Magic rub.
Thank you. It's Councillor Cathy Augustine. I would like to nominate Councillor Chris Hughes as Vice Chair because mainly his experience in many aspects of the work of this committee, his roles previously as Cabinet Member, Chair of various other committees, and deep involvement with housing in particular. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Mandy Hawkins.
I'd like to second Councillor Chris Hughes for the same reasons Cathy's just said. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Harry Saville.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I'd like to propose Councillor Samantha Cotton. Sam has been your Vice Chair for this committee for a number of years now and has provided excellent support to you, and I think she'd be the right person to continue in that role.
Thank you. Councillor Louise.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to second Sam Cotton for the Vice Chair of Economy in Place.
Thank you, Louise. Well, we have two nominations. Will we be putting this to the vote? Show of hands. Show of hands. Okay, so we'll take the first nomination first. Chris Hughes and Sam Cotton. Yes. So members in favour of Councillor Chris Hughes. Okay. And anybody, any abstentions? And one abstention. And those against?
Chair, can I just come in for a second? It's
sure. Yes,
we don't need any votes against or abstentions. All we need is votes for Councillor Chris and votes for Councillor Sam.
Okay, thank you, Freen, for
So-
clarifying that point. So members who wish to vote for Councillor Sam Cotton as Vice Chair.
Yes, it'd be the casting.
Have you voted at all?
I haven't.
No, so it's your vote. So
Okay then.
It's currently 6 votes for Councillor Chris Hughes and 6 votes for Councillor Sam Cotton. Therefore, the chairman, Councillor Nigel Smith, will use his
Casting vote. Congratulations, Chris Hughes. Okay, members, we'll now move on to the next item, which is apologies for absence.
Yes, I have an apology from Councillor Abdul Khan and Cabinet members Gronwy Edwards and Charlie McCoubry.
Thank you. Declarations of interest, code of local government conduct. I want to remind members that they must declare the nature of any personal interests. No. Okay, then we'll move on to item 4, which is urgent matters.
There are no urgent matters, Chair.
Thank you very much. Minutes. So we'll now move on to item 5, which is the minutes. And for new members, the minutes are here for accuracy only and not for debate. We have the first ones, which are on pages 4 to 11, which are to approve the minutes held on the meeting held on the 10th of the 2nd this year. If members are happy with those minutes, could they please show by raising their hands? Yeah, I think they've been approved. And then also to approve the minutes of the meeting held on the 16th of February 22, which are on pages 12 to 22. Oh, we need a proposer and seconder. Sorry, I do apologise. Do we have a proposer and seconder for those previous minutes on pages 4 to 11? Councillor Michael? Councillor Carroll, thank you. And members did approve those anyway.
Yes.
So we need a proposer and seconder for the minutes on the 16th of February. A proposer and seconder, if we may. Councillor Chris, Councillor Carroll again. And if members are happy, please show. Thank you very much. And then to approve the minutes of the meeting held on the 2nd of March 22, which are on pages 23 to 27. We need a proposer and seconder for those. Councillor Chris. And Councillor Carroll, thank you very much. And a show of hands if members are happy with those. That's lovely, thank you. Item 6 is the minutes of the local area forum. To note the minutes of the local area forum meetings, the chairs or vice chairs of the LAFs are hoping to be in attendance, but I don't know who they are. So
For the north,
is it on here?
yeah. So for the north, we should have Councillor Harry or Councillor Carroll.
Okay.
Yeah, Councillor Harry.
Oh,
are you
yes.
able to present the minutes?
Oh, thank you, Chair. Yes, the minutes are included within the agenda, and I'm happy to propose that we note them.
And you're going to second those, Carol. Thank you very much. If members are happy to accept those minutes, could they please show? Thank you. They've been approved.
And then we've got the local area forum.
Yeah, local area forum West, which are going to be presented by Councillor Sam Cotton, pages 31 to 34.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I was the Vice Chair of the Local Area Forum West, and I am happy to propose that the minutes are an accurate record of that meeting and produce them to the Scrutiny Committee for approval.
Thank you. Proposer and seconder, please. Councillor Chris? Sam's just seconded. Yeah. Okay, if members are happy, could you please show by raising your hands? Thank you. Item 7 is questions to cabinet members. Yep, Councillor Aaron Wynne.
Councillor Harry to come in.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Councillor Harry Saville, your question, please.
Yes, thanks, Chair. I understood this had been allocated to Councillor Gronwy Edwards, but I'll crack on. Will the Cabinet member provide an update on plans to refurbish some of the shelters on Llandudno's North Shore Prom?
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes. Diolch, Cadeirydd, and thank you, Councillor Harry, for your question. And can I apologise, first of all, for some confusion regarding who should answer this question. On the agenda, it does say Councillor Gronwy, but as it does fit into my portfolio, I'll respond if that's okay. Conwy made a successful bid for funding from Visit Wales to support the upgrade of 2 of the shelters on Llandudno's North Shore Prom. We've been out to tender twice now via the Sell to Wales website, and we've not been successful in finding a contractor. We are currently out to tender a 3rd time, and the deadline closed earlier this evening. I'm unaware as of yet if a contractor has bidded for the project. If no contractor has made a bid for the project, we will go to tender for a 4th time, but we may miss the deadline, Visit Wales' deadline to spend the money. Officers are currently in discussions with Visit Wales to see if we can extend the deadline. But like I say, if the tendering process was again unsuccessful. However, if we can't extend the deadline and no contractor has made a bid today, funding could be made available via the Coastal Defence Scheme. However, as Visit Wales has already agreed the grant funding for this project, I believe we should still continue and pursue this as in the first instance. Additionally, for your information, Economi and Culture and DRF colleagues are working together to develop an innovative new outdoor photography exhibition called Oriel Môr. This will be linked across a number of our promenades. We hope to either build or convert a shelter for Oriel Môr on Llandudno Prom as part of the Sea Defence Programme. I hope that answers your question, Councillor Harry. Diolch, thank you.
Councillor Harry.
Yes, Chairman, if I may come back. Aaron, thank you very, very much for that update. And I'm really pleased that officers have gone out to tender on a 3rd occasion and are looking at going out to tender a 4th time. I appreciate there have been challenges with this project, which I'd like to say now residents in Llandudno are really, really supportive of and would like to see delivered. So what I wonder is if these difficulties continue and if you're not able to secure I think it was Transforming Towns grant funding you'd mentioned, as well as the Welsh Government coastal risk funding, would you and your cabinet colleagues consider putting a capital bid into the council's capital programme for this to be considered by members for funding by that means? Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Harry. As I don't know the results of the tendering process, which ended earlier today, I think it would be better if I responded to you at a later date when I know the results. If I update you, give you a written update, and I'm happy to update other members of the committee as well.
That'd be good with me. Thank you, Aaron. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Harry, and thank you, Aaron. We'll now move on to item 8, which is the Economy and Place Overview and Scrutiny Committee Terms of Reference, which are on pages 35. These will be presented by Dawn Hughes, our Scrutiny Committee Services Officer. Dawn?
Thank you, Chair. As I said, this item is for information only. These are the terms of reference for this committee. They have been approved by Council on the 19th of May, and they're just sort of an aid memoir really for what sort of reports you will receive and under what sorts of areas. So, and like I say, it's just for information only.
Okay,
thank you.
They'll be noted. Thank you. Item 9 was to review the forward work programme. So it's 9.1, which is the Economy in Place Overview and Scrutiny Committee Forward Work Programme on pages 36 to 50, and 9.2, the Combined Forward Work Programme on pages 51 to 86.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so again, for the benefit of new members, included on the agenda is the forward plan for the Economy in Place Overview and Scrutiny Committees on pages 36 to 50, and also the Combined Forward Work Programme. So on the front of the Economy in Place Forward Plan, you'll see a list of programmes and projects which report to this committee. And once appointed, the elected member representation will appear on the front. These programmes and projects report to scrutiny either on a 6-monthly or on an annual basis, and will provide an update on the progress of the project. So I will be liaising with the chairs and the chair and the vice chair over the next month to prioritise when these updates should come. Also listed on the front of the forward plan is a list of the task and finish groups associated with this committee. Again, I'll be liaising with the chair and vice chair to schedule the final report from these task and finish groups, because I think they are well overdue now. So the forward plan provides a list of reports due to be considered by this committee in date order. These items obviously were requested by the previous administration, so you have the opportunity to review the forward plan now and decide if these are still your priorities. Over the next few months, the committee will consider a variety of reports, including the biannual overview of the flood defence schemes, works in the county, progress on the biodiversity plan, whether to reconvene the environmental enforcement task and finish group, and of various housing reports, including the housing support programme strategy and housing renewal programme. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Sam Cotton.
Yep, thank you, Chair. I think Dawn may have just answered partly, but I was interested in the local development review task and finish group. Has a date there of May 2020. I wondered whether there was an interim report that was going to be presented to us on their work so far, and when will the committee be meeting again, please?
Thank you, Councillor Sam. Yes, it's. I think there should be a date going in the diary for a meeting of the task and finish group. As you're aware, due to COVID, the Welsh Government have delayed the LDP timetable. I'm not aware of when they are due to report officially to the democratic process, but I'll find out from James, because there's a number of reports, as you see on the forward plan, relating to the LDP. So that this is one of the things I will have a look at with the chairs and vice chairs and get back to you.
Councillor Harry Saville, you got your hand up, sir?
Yes, I have, Chair. And I think, like Sam's question, Dawn might have touched on it, but it's regarding the report on the use of CCTV footage in fighting environmental crime. We asked for this report, I think, over 4 months ago now. It's referenced in the minutes we approved earlier from February, and we still haven't got a date allocated to it. As I recall, this was quite a simple request that one head of service talk to an officer based within his service to work out what the data protection implications of the ask were. So I just wondered whether or not we could have some sort of indication as to when this report might come, or indeed could we perhaps ask for it to come by the October meeting?
Okay,
yes, of course. Like you say, once now the chairs are appointed, I can now start liaising to get some dates on the forward plan. So yeah, that's one of the dates, one of the items I'll take back.
okay, can I bring in Jane Richardson?
Can I just check, Councillor Harry, is that the report on the environmental enforcement work that you were asking about there? Did I misunderstand?
Yes, it was, Jane.
So I can confirm to members that that report has been written. I think the delay has simply been in terms of the new administration coming into place, elections, etc. So I know the team are eager to bring that forward as soon as they can, but I've read the report. I know it definitely exists, and I think you'll be interested in it.
That's great news. Many thanks.
Thank you, Jane. There's no further questions, so we'll move on to item 10. Oh, sorry, we need to approve the forward work programme, so we need a proposer, Councillor Michael. Anybody to second the forward work programme? Councillor Louise Emery. If members are happy, could you please raise your hands? Yeah, that's been approved. Thank you very much, members. We'll now move on to item 10, which is nominations are sought for the overview and scrutiny representatives to sit on the following programme and project boards. These are not an opportunity to discuss the progress or status of any of the projects or programmes. Monitoring reports will be scheduled on the forward work programme in line with the programme and project framework. Each project and programme will be taken separately. So I'm looking for nominations for, first of all, the occupation strategy. Anybody interested in going on that? Could I put my name down for that? Thank you very much, Christopher. Okay, so, oh yeah, do we need a seconder? Councillor Carroll, if everybody's happy, could you please show? That's lovely. The infrastructure programme. Need a willing volunteer on that one. Austin, is that something you might be interested in?
Yeah, I'll go on that.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'd like to nominate Councillor Austin. And again, seconded by Councillor Chris Hughes. If members are happy, please show by raising your hands. Lovely. Item 3 is the Leisure Services Repair and Maintenance and Facilities Upgrade Project. Any sporting members out there that's interested? Councillor Louise? Oh,
I think Sam's going to propose me, hopefully.
oh yes. Councillor Sam Cotton.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, I would like to propose Councillor Louise.
Excellent.
And I'll second that.
Dr. Austin. Show of hands, please, members. Lovely. What are we on to? Item 4, Llanrwst Town Centre Regeneration Delivery Programme. Oh, Jane Richardson.
Can I just make a general point, members, that for these regeneration boards, there's both a scrutiny member and a local member on them. So please don't feel that for candidates and whatever that you have to be a Llandudno based member to go on Llandudno one, because there will also be a Llandudno person on that. So this is more to represent scrutiny, and it's more of a kind of broad council-wide perspective on the board. So feel free to go to for any of them wherever your ward is.
Thank you for that, Jane. So we're looking for a member to sit on the Llanrwst Town Centre Regeneration Programme. Oh, Councillor Austin, were you going to propose something or somebody?
Well, no, I was going to volunteer if nobody else wants to do it.
Well, I'll propose you as a member for that.
Thank you.
And again, seconded by the Vice Chair, Councillor Chris Hughes. Could we please show members if you're happy with that nomination? Yes, thank you. Number 5 is the Llandudno Town Centre Regeneration and Delivery Programme, pages 104 to 108. I'd like to nominate Councillor Louise Emery.
Thanks, Chair. Can I nominate Councillor Mandy Hawkins?
Oh, well, okay. Do we have a seconder for Councillor Louise and Councillor Sam Cotton? Okay, and for Councillor Hawkins, do we have a seconder? Thank you, Kathy. So we'll have a show of hands, I think. So members in favour of Councillor Sam Cotton? Oh, sorry, Councillor Louise Emery? And Councillor Mandy Hughes. Hawkins, sorry.
Hawkins.
One, two, three. Is Reen voting then? Six. So that's Councillor Louise then. Okay. We'll now move on to Colwyn Bay Regeneration Programme brief, which is on 109 to 115. Colwyn Bay. Councillor Carol Beard. Could you put your microphone? Try the magic rub.
I'd like to nominate.
Thank you. Councillor Mandy.
Sorry, the sound went off a little bit. Was that for the Colwyn Bay Regeneration Programme?
Yes, it is.
Yes, I'd like to nominate Councillor Chris Hughes, please.
Second is nomination.
Oh, sorry. Yes, right.
Are there any other nominations? No. Okay, if members are happy, could you please show? Thank you. So item 7 is the Abergele Town Centre Regeneration and Delivery Programme. Yeah, Councillor Michael.
I'd like to nominate Alan. Yeah, is it Alan? Are you interested in that?
I'll second that.
Is there any other nominations? No? Okay, if members are happy with Councillor Alan Hunter, please show by raising your hands. Thank you. Yeah, affordable housing, pages 121 to 127. Councillor Cathy.
Hello, I'd like to nominate Councillor Chris for that because of
Councillor
his
Chris.
wide experience in that area.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Mandy Hawkins.
Oh, yes, sorry.
I'd like to second.
My proposal is just to point out
Yes.
that Chris was elected to this new board just 6 weeks ago.
Okay, thank you. So Councillor Mandy, sorry, what?
I'd just like to second Councillor Chris for that, please.
All right. Are there any other nominations? No. No. Okay, good. Members, if you're happy, could you please show? Lovely. Thank you. That's carried as well. And then the final one is the Climate Change Programme Board, 128 to 131. Councillor Chris.
This doesn't seem to want to work. Can I nominate Councillor Cathy? Councillor Cathy previously worked in a capacity where she was doing programme management around the environment, and I think she brings a lot of experience in that role to this council.
Okay, I'll be happy to second that nomination. Is there any other takers or any other nominations? We'll put that to the vote then. Members are happy, please show. That's great. Thank you very much. So we'll now move on to item 11, is to consider a report by the Head of Environment, Roads and Facilities on the following matter. The first item is the Allotment Strategy 2019 to 2044 Action Plan Update on pages 132 to 144. And this is going to be presented by Steve Teal, our Facilities Manager. Good evening, Steve.
Good evening, everybody. So, yes. So it was agreed on the introduction of the revised allotment policy and strategy that we would provide an annual update into progress of the allotments, and attached to my report is the detailed action plan with the updates in there and where we're at. But to say steady progress has been made in many areas of the strategy. Some areas haven't been quite as dynamic as we would have liked. And the recent pandemic has obviously challenged us over the last couple of years, especially with the capacity of officers to make that progress. That said, there have been two significant successes over the time, one being the inauguration of our first ever community allotment garden at Dwyllgor, and the construction of another new allotment garden at Kimmel Bay, which is being prepared for handover to the Town Council for the community group to take that one over. Just to go into a little bit more detail into each of the areas. Obviously, since the introduction of the revised strategy, we've had the pandemic, and this has only served to highlight the value allotments bring. The provision of land continues to challenge us. That said, we've been working with planning and through the planning process, and that has highlighted land for allotments. Since then, we've also been working with our partners in estates, and they've also identified further land which is being reviewed. These sites now need to be brought forward for development, and obviously allotments remains the provision of allotment sites remains a key component of the development and policy plans. Communication with current and future tenants has been very difficult during the pandemic and has highlighted the importance of this element of the plan. Traditional face-to-face communication is now being complemented with the use of technology, and we've introduced an allotment management system called Colony, which automates a lot of the processes and allows access to our residents to get allotment plots and get on waiting lists. We're also looking to improve the website and use social media to help us with communication in the future. Previous strategies have acknowledged that allotments should be exemplars for sustainability. And again, this has been amplified through the pandemic, as well as leading up to and during COP26. And various actions have been taken to reinforce the sustainability approach with further work still to be implemented. Sustainability has also been a lens through which the community allotment gardens have been developed. And there has been a focus on education and inclusion, and allotment design is complementing this approach. The introduction of the colony management system has begun to improve the management of allotments. Further actions have been taken to channel shift simple functions, as I said before, to automate the processes and give residents, allotment holders, immediate interaction with the allotment service. Again, this will improve the effectiveness and efficiency of the allotment service and help to address capacity issues that I spoke about before in delivering the service. And the final point is to help deliver on the strategy of an allotment working group was established in August last year. There's only been one meeting, unfortunately. There was meant to be another meeting today, but we're still trying to get, obviously, the new members with the turnover of members. So that will be reinvigorated again this year. The rest of the detail is in the updated action plan. That's it for my presentation this evening.
Well, thank you very much, Steve. Councillor Chris Hughes has got his hands up. So, Chris.
So, thanks, Chair. Yeah, thanks, Steve. Thanks for a really good presentation. I'm the chair of Colwyn Bay Environment Federation, and my vice chair recently set up Colwyn Bay Incredible Edibles. We've been contacting a number of commercial organisations and churches and looking at creating vegetable gardens and the like in those facilities, and we've had quite a bit of positive response. So I wondered whether, as part of their climate change commitment, you might have considered approaching some commercial sites, commercial operators that have got large amounts of open space around their buildings and things, and whether they might be willing to give up part of that or use that to offset their carbon emissions.
It's a very good point, and we, as you say, we've already got some other green spaces which are being used for food production, and I think it's a great idea. I've seen it in the past, and we'll look to include it within the strategy in terms of options for additional allotment provision.
Councillor Keith Eales.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Steve. Just quickly, I've had some inquiries about the Abergele proposed allotments. On the report, it just says continue to identify land that can be used for allotments. So it does list Abergele under that sort of section at the moment. So what is the next step for Abergele?
So there were 1, 2, 3. There were 4 sites identified for allotments. We've ruled 2 out because of their proximity to the town and their accessibility. The 3rd site is still to be brought forward through planning. The 4th site, I am currently doing the initial work to assess its suitability in terms of its soil and the planning required for access and it's just this general suitability that we can bring it forward for allotments. The planning team are speaking to the landowners to see if that land is still available for us to use. It was previously identified as housing but was unsuitable for housing, but it's a green wedge of land that would be suitable for allotments. And then the final piece of land is land near at the north side of Gwerth Castle, and that's still being considered with the current owner of that piece of land as well. But I understand that there might be a private development going on there as well.
Okay, thank you. And just one last question. If there's any other land that is in private ownership that may not have been, can it be put forward by the ward member to contact the owner of the land if something's been laying dormant for a number of decades?
Absolutely. I mean, Abergele is a particular problem. Well, no, it's a particular area that hasn't got allotments, much like Llanrwst and some other areas up the valley. And I have been trying to get town councils to help me identify land where it may be possible to bring it forward, because that then allows me to raise a capital business case to seek the money to purchase the land. So yes, the bottom line is if people are aware of land that's not being used for anything, then please bring it forward to my attention, and then we can follow it up through through our estates management team and myself, then to see if it's suitable and meets that need criteria.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Do we have any other questions? Anybody online? That seems to be it. So I'll put it.
I've got a question, Chair.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Councillor Croft. Apologies for my late attendance.
Okay.
Something clashed. Is there a list of these future allotment sites somewhere, or is it in the minutes?
There is a list on the action plan itself of areas, but I haven't put the actual physical detail of where the land is, just in the areas that this land has been identified. Happy to produce a more detailed report of where that actual land is.
Great, that'd be useful. Thank you.
Okay, members, the recommendation, which I think is on pages 132, is to accept the allotment action plan as a record of progress in delivering the allotment strategy 2019 to 2024. Councillor Chris Hughes, are going to propose that, are you?
One doesn't seem to want to work. Yes, I'll propose that, Chair.
Thank you very much. And do we have a seconder? Councillor Michael Smith. Thank you. If members are happy with the report, could you please show? Thank you very much. And thank you, Steve, for the report. It was excellent. And thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you.
So item 12, members, is to consider a report by the Head of Economy and Culture on the following matter: a Play Development Annual Report, pages 145 to 317. And this is going to be presented by Caroline Jones, the Leisure Development Officer. Good evening, Caroline. Hello.
Oh, right, we're ready.
Oh.
Okay, super. That's super.
Okay. We'll just take a 2-minute break. If anybody wants a comfort break, I think now might be the time.
Are you outside in the sun, Samantha?
No, sadly I'm not. I'm sitting under a Velux window at the back of the house, and we get the sun on the back of the house in the evening, which is why I can't see a lot of the time.
Because you look very relaxed and as if you were sunning yourself.
Not quite. I've got dogs in here as usual.
Oh. Is it nice down in Ganwy?
Well, it's very sunny.
Is it very sunny? Is it?
It's very sunny, yeah.
We've had sunny spells intermittent with showers here in the valley.
Oh, okay.
Could I remind members that they're still
sorry.
being live streamed?
Oh, sorry.
Good evening. Apologies for being late. I believe you're early. My name is Nathaniel Menard. I am the principal play officer for Conway. I was supposed to be here with Caroline, my manager, but we'll just crack on and see how we get on. Just going to run through a brief presentation. Hopefully you've all had the report and all the highlight reports to go with it, along with the data analysis from David, who's been working with us in terms of the place efficiency and doing research and consultation with the children. I will refer to that within the presentation. So I'm here today to talk about the place efficiency action plan. I know many of us have spoken about this before, but there's some new faces as well. Just very briefly, the place efficiency action plan, it runs through 3 cycles. So every 3rd year, the local authority are tasked with looking at sufficiency across all kind of departments within play. So we set out criteria within a toolkit. What we must do is look through those, look at where any shortfalls are, where we're performing really well in terms of children's play opportunities, and from that devise an action plan. The action plan will be worked on then every 12 months, and then each June, it used to be March, but now it's June, we'll go back to Welsh Government with our revised action plan, update them on how we've done, look at new actions. Obviously, in 12 months, communities can change rapidly, so having a look at what angles do we need to take now, and also all the while consulting with children on their kind of feedback, consulting with parents and other departments. So that's kind of the mapping work for the place efficiency assessment, and that's set to us by Welsh Government. So as you can see, we're right at the beginning of the cycle here, coming to the end. So this here is looking at everything that's been achieved over the last 3 years, and where we hope to go over the next 3 years. So why is this needed? Well, firstly, it's a duty set on us by Welsh Government, so we've got to do it. But it's particularly needed at this point as children's right to play has been impacted massively by the restrictions of COVID-19. We can see through previous research over the last cycles that children's opportunities to play and their satisfaction with opportunities to play has been decreasing. This has been mirrored again this year with the long-term trend of decreasing, obviously heightened by the restrictions that have been placed on them. Currently, within Conway, 7 out of 10 children are satisfied with their opportunities to play. So there's still room for more. 40% of disabled children and 38% of children living in the most deprived areas, and significantly 35% of older children were dissatisfied with their opportunities to play. I must highlight, this is the first time we've asked children over 11 what they thought. Previously in research, we've asked Year 5 students. This year, we thought we'd take a different approach. So we've asked Year 5 and Year 8 students on their thoughts, hoping that in 3 years' time, when we start asking again, it'll be the same children who will be able to see what trends are coming to light as they age. Only 35% of children in Conway have said they play out most days, 26% hardly ever, and 9% never play out, which I think is quite shocking, really. There's hundreds of factors that come out in the report as to why, and what we've got to do is sift through all of that and see what can we do, how can we assist? Because as we all know, play is hugely beneficial in children's lives in terms of resilience, in terms of progression and physical and mental development. Whilst children in Conway feel safe, they're telling us their parents don't think they are, which is telling us we probably need to do some work there, because Conway is generally quite safe. So you'll see if you've looked through the action plan, there's lots of actions there on how we can work with parents to try and break through some of those perceptions of children playing out. Disabled children and those living in less deprived areas and in urban areas were the least satisfied with the quality of spaces for play. In the report, this is again a long-term trend coming through Conway. The areas such as Colwyn Bay, Llandudno and Abergele, children just don't have spaces to play, spaces that they feel they can access. So that's something we'd like to look at and highlights again through the action plan. So the best predictor of satisfaction in terms of children was were they allowed to play out on their own. And I'll quickly tell you a brief story from my child. My child asked if they could play out, no problem. My younger son said, can I play out too? I said, yeah, but I'll come with you. My daughter turned to me and said, oh, it's not really playing out now. I said, what do you mean? I wanted to go and play out. But if you're coming, it's not really playing out. That opened my eyes a little bit. Rurality and age are also predictors in satisfaction. So again, younger children feeling that they did have opportunities, older children, not so much. Children living in more rural areas in Conway felt that they had good spaces to access. And when they could access those spaces, they had plenty of people to play with. Living in areas of deprivation and gender, currently not significant predictors of satisfaction within Conway, which I think is a positive. However, when we asked the children specifically about COVID and the restrictions were placed on them, more girls felt less able to play out during the restrictions. Hopefully we won't have that problem again, but it was interesting and something worth noting. From previous assessments and my involvement in research with children, and again through this assessment, we can kind of see now, when children talk about satisfaction, they're talking about what time they have available to play. when we talk about play, it's not going to football because your mum's told you have to go to football and you do what the coach says. We're talking about free play on the beach, their own choice. Talking about permission to go to spaces. We've got some fantastic facilities for children in Conway. Can children access them? Are children allowed to access them? That is a key indicator in terms of are children satisfied with opportunities. And again, spaces. What spaces can they access? And again, in our more urban communities, this is a huge predictor. We've found when children have got all three of these working together, time, space, and permission to play, that's when they're feeling good. And that's when all the magic happens and all those benefits of play come through. Okay, I'll stop talking about play sufficiency now because I could talk about it all day. I'd like to take this opportunity to highlight to you some of the work that has been going on over the last 12 months. In case Caroline doesn't come, just very briefly, I'm not prepared for this, but play development is coming to leisure services. But there she is. I'll let Caroline talk to you about that after. Back to the highlights. So during the last 12 months, play development now sits in leisure services. We've delivered Christmas play packs to food banks and to shelters over the Christmas period. We have been training up other partners in play, whether it be other departments within local authority or third sector partners looking to adapt play provision and increase play opportunities. We've been delivering level 2 bespoke training as well, helping childcare settings ensure they've got the qualifications needed. As CRW makes changes in those. We've been delivering playful parents provision. This again was born out of me being at home with my 4-year-old going, this doesn't seem right. So we deliver playful parents across 10 areas of Conway across the week where under 5s and the parents can come and meet and socialise. In the report, if anyone's had a chance to read it, you'll see that the outcomes for the parents have been absolutely huge in this in terms of mental health and them feeling supported as well. We've been tasked with the Summer of Fun and Winter of Wellbeing from Welsh Government, which has provided additional funding over the last 12 months for provision, activities and events. As well as that, we had the Capital Play grant coming in from Welsh Government, which enabled us to work on some big projects with partners. An example is the skate park in Penn that's just hopefully being opened this week. We're able to support ERF with consultation, with the actual process and also with funding through the play grant. Supporting and mentoring training for departments such as family support workers to adapt the opportunities they provide for children. So whether it be working with social workers, foster parents, or family workers themselves, looking at how they support parents to be more playful with their children, helping in long-term resilience of families. And also the development of Playing Out. So Playing Out used to be just a summer project. So over the last kind of 2 years, we've gone from just the summer to having it every holidays and now after school as well. So every day in Conway, there's an opportunity to play with the Playing Out team. Community play day events. We couldn't unfortunately do our big event last year as we normally do in Areas Park, but we are hoping to bring it back this year. So last year we supported the family centres in running and delivering community play days. And we also supported other third sectors such as I think Llanfairpwllgwyngyllgogerychll and Town Council, they got one going as well and supported them and the team went along and helped with the event. And recently we've been supporting schools. We managed to acquire some funding through the Health Board and we've been supporting schools to look at active play times. So looking at providing more opportunities for the children to be active during school lunch times. I haven't included the report from that because we're still collating all the information, but currently it's mind-blowing the stuff that's coming through. Children feeling that they can go more happy to go to school, behavioural issues have kind of dissipated at lunchtime. So yeah, we're excited to kind of look at the evaluation of that and what we can do in future. So moving forward, obviously we've got the Play Sufficiency Action Plan, which I hope will go through the political process and be approved. We can send it off to Welsh Government and really start making some headway on some of those actions, looking at improving opportunities to play. We hope to ensure that all children and young people's concerns are heard and represented within the action plan and obviously addressed. Develop links and ensure all stakeholders are accountable for their role in play. If you're looking at the Play Sufficiency Action Plan, you'll see it's not just us alone that have to do this. All departments across the local authority should be coming together to ensure that we're thinking about children in every step we take. Looking at developing the schools project based on the information coming back to us now. And also looking at the continued delivery of the dynamic approach towards play we're taking in Conway in regards to provision and enhancing that more, looking at maybe supporting older children based on the information coming back to us through the consultation process. So the kind of recommendations for you today, to support the implementation of the action plan with a lead from Leisure Services, and to support the place efficiency with work that goes on with the Children's Rights Working Group. To support and encourage the relevant local authority departments to work together in securing and assessing place efficiency. So where that comes in is sometimes when I go knocking on the door to highways or whatever, I don't always know what I'm talking about, but you guys can really get behind us and making sure that we've got everybody heading towards the right goal. And then support and development for the strategic play plan and the role we all have to take in that. I suppose that's it for me, and then we'll go back to front.
Sorry, apologies for being late for the yeah. Okay. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Caroline Jones, I'm Leisure Development Officer. So I was just going to chip in before Nat did her presentation, really give you a little bit of background as to where we've got with play and how we sit today. So as of April 2020, Conway decided to keep the delivery of play in-house. Up until that point, it had been commissioned out to Conway Voluntary Services Council, where Nathania was working. So she was 2P'd over to us in April 2020. I'm sure she's already touched on the statutory duty on local authorities to provide play opportunities. So as a local authority, we're now in the fourth cycle of submitting the place efficiency assessment. So yeah, the purpose of the report that I'm sure you've all read is to present Conway's PSA and the resulting action plan. And then really just to highlight all the good work that's gone on since 2020 and how the sort of play development programs developed really rapidly in the last couple of years. Thanks to really numerous successful bids for funding that have been made. So I know Nat's run through quite a few comprehensive presentation there, but you know we've got it from 0 upwards really at the moment. We've got Playful Parents, which is 0 to 5s, the Active Playtimes, which is in the school setting, the Playing Out, which has been extended, not just a holiday offer, but the after school provision, and the numerous play events that we're running throughout the school holidays. So yeah, so well done that.
Is that it? Excellent. Well, thank you very much for presenting the report, a very extensive one. I'll open it up to the floor for questions. Councillor Louise.
Oh, no.
Give it the magic roll.
Hey, thank you very much, guys, for coming over to talk to us. And I know how passionate Nat is about play. And I just wanted to let particularly new scrutiny members know that this is a really responsible duty we have across councils in North Wales. And we sort of see play, it's a bit of a fluffy word in some ways, but actually play is absolutely essential to children's well-being. And it's not just about playgrounds. There's a confusion between build more playgrounds and then people will come and play. It's about giving parents particularly the courage to send their children out, as you said, on their own. And I'm getting to that stage with my two. And we have to appreciate that Conway County is incredibly safe place to live, and there is a far more open spaces than there are in more urban communities. But I do realize the monster that is doing the place efficiency, actually putting it together, it's been an enormous amount of work. And if we didn't have a play officer, it would sit under leisure, and it would get done, but it put tremendous strain on resources. So my question is, I know when I had the leisure role, there was concern about the play officer salary. Is that grant funded for a number of years to come, or is that taken from the revenue budget of Conway? So how is that post funded? Thank you.
So currently the play development post that Nat holds is funded through the Welsh Government's Families First funding measure, and that's on an annual basis, which doesn't quite tally with the 3-year cycle of the PSA.
So it's the same as I thought. So yes, it's on an annual basis, which we apply each year. That doesn't give much comfort to whoever takes the play officer space. So I wonder if there's any way that we could as you say, match the three-year contract.
The plan going forward is to look at submitting a business case later in the year for the additional funding that would safeguard that post.
And would that be a revenue business case?
Yeah.
Well, I'd certainly be happy to support that. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you for raising that, Louise. Councillor Michael.
Thank you, Chair. It's really surprising that, you know, the comment of safety, Louise just brought that there, and you know, when I was a kid, not as long ago as some others in the chamber, I'm sorry to say, but I was allowed out. You know, my dad let me play out. I had that rain, but there was that thought of eyes on you because your neighbours knew you, and you couldn't get up to too much mischief because you'd get took back and have a shouting at. And how do we communicate to parents who necessarily don't know the neighbours that live next to them, and you know that Conway is safe, and you know, because it's really sad if those kids aren't, because where I live in Kimmel Bay, we've got some great parks. We could always do with more play equipment, but it's fields and ditches, and then you know you go a bit further inland and you've got your trees and your mountains up to Abergele, where I was always mucking about at the top there. You know, riding your bikes everywhere along the coast, you know, get on the bikes and cycle from Kimmel Bay to Roseland, and not even think about it and get in and eat your tea and go to bed. So, you know, how do you encourage parents to allow those reins to be released, which, you know, haven't been, you know, they've been pulled tighter and tighter and continue to do so. Yeah, I wondered what your thoughts are.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I think that's basically what Welsh Government are asking of us in terms of the place efficiency duty. We could talk about playgrounds and play provision, where it's assisted by and supported by staff all day long. But the magic we're talking about is that stuff going out on your own, coming back when the street lights are on. And I think when I deliver play training, what comes across as well is it wasn't always nice, but we always remember it as nice because and communities value it in terms of, you know, your neighbours, you know who's in your community, and providing play opportunity for children is almost kind of encouraging community cohesion as well, because people have to learn who's next door, who's around. And I think the place efficiency action plan, again, this isn't something we can do as just leisure or just play. It's got to be a whole kind of approach corporately as well, corporate messaging, what we're doing in terms of developments, new housing developments, how are children encompassed in those designs, highways, how are children encompassed in those designs, how do children move around their communities? And it's really looking at how we design children back into our communities across Conway.
Thank you.
Can I ask you, Nat? You mentioned a new skate park in Penmaenmawr, I think it was, and for me, play is, as you say, very important. It's not just about having play schemes for children. Thinking back to my youth, which wasn't that long ago, Councillor Michael, I can remember it was where I learned to tell the time, because I knew I had to be back in for meal times, and my parents were both working, so it allowed them to continue to work while they knew that I was in a fortunate position, because my mum used to drop me off at the swimming pool, and I would swim in the morning and then maybe go to the skate park or skate rink in the afternoon, so they knew where I was. For me today, children in my particular area, Kimmel Bay, which I think has 3 areas of deprivation, Kimmel Bay. So low-income families, struggling families who don't have the luxury of sending their children to the swimming pool for the morning or to an activity in the afternoon. And we find locally that we have 11-year-olds upwards getting into a bit of mischief. So a skate park is something that we've always wanted, or we certainly wanted for the last 5 years or so in the Town and Kimmel Bay area. Is there funding available? The Town Council has a small pot of money, but obviously not a substantial amount to put in a facility as expensive as a skate park, but we'd be willing to contribute towards it. Are there funding streams that we could look at?
I think in terms of the Penryn skate park, that it was a timing thing. So it's all cogs turning together to make that happen. Where we had some capital funding come into play, and we were doing place efficiency, and the children have been talking to us about that. We actually had a young gentleman contact the Children's Commissioner down in Cardiff to argue, why has my skate park been took away? And obviously the first thing the Children's Commissioner did was got on my back and said, why have they took the skate park away? So it showed how that process worked. And we worked with our partners in ERF, so we were able to commit, I think it was about 40%. The town council committed quite a bit as well, and then Conway found the rest. But there's grants out there that could be looked at, and community grants. I know because you mentioned Kimnell Bay and kind of Towing area, you've got Gwenton Moor and Real Flats there. It's definitely something that could be done. If the young children want it, and children and young people want it, we'd definitely be fighting their kind of corner to say, yeah, let's get it. And a community kind of facility like that, I think, would be well backed by those kind of schemes. So it's certainly something we could look at. But just to kind of, we're aware of kind of the demographics of that area, and we've just installed play provision. I think it's on a Monday evening in Towing on Belgrano, trying to get the community working with us. Because there was a bit of a move there about a no ball game sign they wanted to take down. We've been and assessed it. And unfortunately, on this occasion, it needs to stay where it is because of safety. But there's obviously a need and a desire from the community to look at play for children. So whilst that's there, we're trying to build momentum with them. So it's certainly something we could look at together in the future.
Great, thank you. Councillor Keith Eales. Oh, sorry, Councillor Chris Hughes.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Nat, for your presentation. I had the benefit as a kid. I was born in Llisfine, and wherever we looked, every window we looked out of, there was a green space. There was somewhere to go and kick a ball around or run around, and everybody else, everybody knew everybody in village at that time, and so. We, as you mentioned earlier, we'd be out from the moment we woke up in the morning until we got hungry. Mum always said she never had any worries about us because she knew we'd be home when we were hungry. But I now live in the centre of Colwyn Bay, and whilst we have Avius Park and we have the beach, in the town centre, you talk to parents, you talk to families, nobody wants to let their children come out to play. They don't want to see their kids playing on the street because they don't know who they'll meet. They also don't want them out there because if they do start kicking the ball around, they get into trouble because there's a ball's going to hit a car. And if we go back to the early 70s, we actually had 2 or 3 small playgrounds in the town centre, and those have gone. So how do we persuade parents that our areas are safe? Because very often it doesn't matter how much you talk to them or how much you support them, unless they've got a small garden, which in 2 up 2 down terrace houses in much of Colwyn Bay, they haven't. And people are so busy these days. Some parents have got 2 and 3 part-time jobs. Some husbands, fathers going out while the mother's coming in to work, and they're constantly busy trying to make ends meet. So how do we address that and ensure that children actually do have time to play?
If I knew the answers to that, the place efficiency wouldn't exist. I think it's the truthful answer. That's what place efficiency asks of us, is to ask those questions of ourselves, of the department, of parents, of everybody. How can we do this? You'll look across the action plan and it is all around these perceptions. Okay, it might not be as safe in terms of there's a lot more cars on the road, but how can we as a council support parents to do that? There's things like street closures. Can we do weekly street closures? Is that viable? There's lots of things, and if you on Play Wales's website, they've got lots of ideas that have been kind of trialed all across the county. But it's no one hat fits all, I don't think. And as you said in Colwyn Bay, I think that's why sufficiency comes out poorer in those areas, because where are they supposed to go unless they're fortunate to have a back garden? But even then, if you've got a back garden, you still can't do some of the stuff, the contentious stuff like digging in the ditches, or you know, the stuff that children need to do, I think, and concepts that they need to explore through play to be able to kind of come out the other side in adulthood and have an understanding of the world. So yeah, if anyone's got ideas, I suppose that's why we're here today, is we all need to get our heads together and think about this.
Yeah. Thanks. We've just actually a community group that I'm involved with. We've actually financed an adventure trail in Avius Park because it's something that children because we've got some new equipment there, but some of it's quite complex, and the kids are saying we don't know how to use it. You know, which is weird. You wouldn't think that, but that is the sort of response that we've had coming back, that people were concerned in that. And we're putting in this just ordinary traditional timber framed play equipment, which is currently under construction. But I think it's about, you know, it is a conundrum, isn't it? How do we give parents that confidence to be able to allow children to go out and play when often they're not able to supervise them because they're busy trying to put food on the table?
And just in kind of response, we've seen the timber trail going up, but as you said, there's resources there. And it's great if you can access that facility, or if you're allowed to access that facility. But what about the children who can't get there? What are we doing in terms of doorstop play, in terms of street play, those types of things? And that's where provision comes in, because we can be there, so it's staffed, so that gives permission. But as much as we'd love to be in all parks across Conway every night of the week, it's just not feasible. So we've got to look at these things. And in the action plan, you might see things where we've got parenting workshops where we take them back, make them remember there's things you've been remembering tonight, and kind of trap those memories and say, right, let's build those for your children. And it is about all collectively working together, and especially about getting some corporate messages out there about the importance of play, would go a long way.
Okay, Councillor Keith Eales.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the report. It is really interesting reading. Amongst other things that I want to say, the really striking thing is the thoughts of children based on the effects that COVID have had on them. It really makes sad reading, and things like this need sending back to the Welsh Government and Westminster to. It's like the children of the forgotten race or generation that have been overlooked in all this, and they need a voice in all this as well, you know. But that aside, the other thing with the play provision, I was speaking to my wife, and we've been to Germany on holiday, and you can literally go to public pools in Germany and you can swim for a couple of hours literally for €1.50. So the pools and things are subsidized by the government, and swimming, you can't emphasize enough the importance of learning to swim, especially on the North Wales coast where kids are in the sea. I was just wondering, because if you try and sign up your children for swimming lessons, I mean, we do, for both of my children, it's like £50 a month for the lessons. Now they have lessons in school, but because of the way it works, there's only 5 weeks of lessons and then that's it. So it's not necessarily enough to get someone proficient in swimming. Enough for them if they go in the sea with the parents are on their own and can't swim. So I'm just wondering if there was any sort of any effort that possibly the Welsh Government, if they're providing play provision, but there's something that could be done for children to try and learn swimming on a larger scale than either through school or through the parents paying, because obviously, as Chris was saying, and it's very real at the moment with the cost of living going up, that there's going to be cuts made in households. And I think the first things that are going to go are non-essential things, which could include children learning to swim. So just that really, to see if it's worth exploring, especially being on the coast here. Yeah. It is really important. Well, generally for kids to learn to swim, you know.
I think we've probably got two answers here with having two offices. So from a play perspective, we're aware of that. And definitely, if we're telling parents to let their children out and the one place they can access is the beach, then we need as a local authority to be sure that that messaging is right. And we've been working with Roger, who runs kind of beach safety in schools, and we've actually just upskilled 2 play workers, or we're in the process of upskilling 2 play workers to have a beach lifeguard qualification. You might be aware that the Hubbard Porth areas, we're hoping to have a play hub down there where we can use it as kind of one-stop shop for training and things like that, and potentially invite the schools down so we can do some beach safety down there as part of like a play setting, if you like, and then to send some messaging home as well about your children have learned this today, so therefore they've got some skills in terms of playing on the beach. And there's a few different courses like that we're looking at exploring and developing to make a more sustainable schools project. That's just in kind of play, but in terms of leisure, I'm sure Caroline will be able to help you.
Yeah, so in terms of, we do have funding by a Welsh Government through the or Sport Wales, but it's Welsh Government funding initially for the free swim initiative that our leisure centres run at each pool. And then as a team, over the last 18 months or so, we've been developing, well, we have run a number of beach safety sessions down at Porthairius Beach. And because of the likes of Summer of Fun funding and Winter Wellbeing funding, we've been able to offer those on a free basis. So we've utilised local water sports instructors along with their own staff to run those sessions. And the feedback that we've had from those has been absolutely incredible in terms of, you know, the children have been, they arrive, they get kitted out in wetsuits, buoyancy aids, rash vests, they go onto the beach, they learn about basic beach safety before then going into the water and gaining some confidence. And some of these children that we've had through, both disabled and non-disabled children have attended, they've never been in a wetsuit before, they've never been in the sea before. So from the kids' perspective, they've had a great session splashing about in the sea on some of the stand-up paddle boards that we've got and that kind of thing. But the parents' perspective, it's been very much the educational aspect of it. Because like you say, you know, we've got the sea, we've got the rivers, we've got the lakes on our doorstep here. So we're actually running 3 days of swim safe next week down at Porthairius, and local schools are attending that. And like Nat alluded to, our longer term goal is to take some of the content of the swim safe sessions alongside what we've already been running and put a package together for schools to come down and benefit from what we've learned as being trained up as swim safe instructors, and you know, pass that on to the youngsters really in terms of safety, the educational element, and of course, you know, it's all about having fun down at the beach as well. So hopefully touch on all those aspects, but ultimately we want them to be safe near the water.
Thank you for that. That's good to hear, and that's excellent. So with the rolling out some of the schools to attend these sessions, does that go out to all schools in Conwy, or?
Initially, due to the timescales that we're under with the swim safe for next week, there's 7 sessions. So we've offered them primarily out to Colwyn Bay based schools, and we've also engaged with Ysgol y Gogarth to attend those sessions. But our longer term aim is that it will be an open offer to schools to come along to those sessions.
I think it does need to be sort of all inclusive, because obviously we've got the east of the county, and obviously Llanfyfechan, we've all got beaches. I'm the ward member for Llandylus and Abergele. So there's a lot of rivers, a lot of sort of seafront as well, which is all accessible, really good accessible beaches. So if it can be rolled out to all schools as time goes on, then that'd be very, very good, and it'll be very positive. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the longer term plan, certainly.
Councillor Bernice McLaughlin.
Thank you. Sorry, thank you, Chair. We've talked about a lot of things, but we've missed, to my mind, one group out, and that is the elderly. Where I live in Towyn are quite a few elderly people, and they get really irate if the children are out playing, even on the safe streets. You know, we might have wonderful memories of how we were looked after. The chair brought up a skate park in Towyn, in Kimmel Bay. That skate park had gone through planning, the money was there, the venue was there, and suddenly, after all the work that had been done by the town council, a group of elderly residents got together and completely blocked it. So have you got any ideas for stopping some of that, you know, bringing the elderly on board so that the kids can play?
I think it's all about communication. I think what's key is if those residents have been involved in the consultation from the first instance, with the opportunity to maybe speak to play workers and children themselves, then there's potential there for relationships within the community to kind of have gone in a more positive way. We deliver training and things like that. But in all honesty, if we're going to deliver training, if we're going to get older generation on, it's because they've got grandchildren, they want to learn more about play and supporting them. And this is where, again, within the Place Fisheries Action Plan, we need all departments to come together to look at those intergenerational activities, to look at how can departments explore these options together, and making sure that we're not just consulting adults on things, that we're consulting children and young people and everybody of all ages in communities. Again, it's all stuff that long term we've got to work together on.
We had gone through a very extensive programme. We'd involved quite a few residents, but they still blocked it. And I have seen people, I live in a very safe street. It doesn't bother me the kids practice on their bikes outside. Some people go out and object, and I have no idea why, because I did it, they did it, but they don't seem to.
Sometimes it's just as simple as reminding them that they did it. Again, there's never ever an answer for every question, and that's where we have to come together and make sure that as a local authority, this is what we're messaging, that we want to see children and young people in our communities. We want to make those opportunities in terms of development. And we're not always going to get it right. It might be that there's a better location for it. We don't know, but we need to explore that with everybody. And if this is an ongoing kind of long-term goal, the play development team will be happy to get kind of involved in that if we can, if we're able.
Thank you very much.
Well, I think that's the debate over. Are there any questions? Oh, Councillor Aaron, sorry.
Diolch, Nigel. Can I just really quickly thank both Nat and Caroline for taking us through that report and for all your hard work. I think we can all in this room feel how passionate Nat is about play, and it's very infectious. And I also think the responses in the report by the children, parents and the staff, it's a testament to the great work that you do. So thank you very much. Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Yeah, I would agree. Thank you, Councillor Aaron. So I don't think any of our online members have any other additional questions. Again, I want to thank Caroline Jones and Nat for presenting the report, very extensive report. Just need a proposer and seconder for the recommendation, which is on pages 145, is that the Economy and Place Overview and Scrutiny Committee consider the play efficiency assessment and support the implementation of the action plan. Do we have a Councillor Austin? He's going to propose.
Diolch yn fawr, Mr Cadeirydd, dwi wedi gofalch I cynnig bod ni'n cymeradwyo ar argymelliad.
Diolch. Councillor Chris Hughes?
I'm happy to second that, Chair.
Okay, members, if you're happy, could you please show by raising your hands? Thank you very much. And thanks again to the officers for attending this evening. Also to Joe for coming along, and I hope you've enjoyed it, and for our new members to this committee, and to our two cabinet members also for being in attendance. It's very much appreciated, and to our wonderful officers here as well. Thank you, everybody, and a safe journey home.
Thank you, members. Good night.
Diolch yn fawr,